Thank you. Anthony, please.
Good evening, Council, members of the public. Anthony Chavarria, Public Works. Councilmember Paul requested staff to bring back expenditure information regarding our LMDs at the May 20th meeting. I'll be providing a brief PowerPoint to summarize some of the expenditures that take place within our LMDs. First, I'd like to show you the reserve amounts during the last few fiscal years. I didn't have fiscal year 21, 22, or 22, 23 readily available at the time of preparing this report, this PowerPoint. Really couldn't answer too many questions during that time period as I wasn't working for the city at that time. Fiscal year 23, 24, we show a reserve budget amount of fund amount of $490,174. Fiscal year 24, 25, we show a reserve budget amount of $1,437,432. And finally, this fiscal year 25, 26, we're showing a budget, a reserve amount of $357,731. And that is after completing our fiscal year 25, 26 LMD budget. As you can see, we were pretty aggressive fiscal year 24, 25. Some of the projects and equipment for fiscal year 24, 25 that were procured. 2024, we purchased a 2024 Ford F650 chipper truck, a 37 horsepower diesel lawnmower, 2 light fixtures at Max Foster to help illuminate the basin area for our recreational activities. Exercise equipment, John Deere backhoe. A total of about $150,632 were expended from the LMDs for the equipment in this last fiscal year. Some of the pictures of some of the equipment. That chipper truck, top left, and lawnmower in top right, some bleachers that are now at the sports complex, the soccer field. Another piece of exercise equipment. That one is that was recently installed at our Killian Park. Some of the projects that were completed 24-25 fiscal year. This is a vegetation renovation project at Sundance LMD. Staff installed new irrigation, weed barriers, rocks, and plants just to spruce up those areas there. Another vegetation renovation project at the Bridgeport LMD. Staff planted 160 shrubs and trees. Installed new drip irrigation at a few of the landscape mediums in that area. This is front of Joseph Gallo off of Wooten Parkway. Another vegetation renovation project that was performed at La Tierra LMD. This area is off of Robin. Staff planted 200 bushes, installed new drip irrigation. Another renovation project. I didn't have the pictures of staff planning them, but this was at the Parkside LMD, which is on the backside of Joseph Gallo off of Parkside. Planted 65 bushes and 35 trees in that area. Another renovation project completed in 24-25 was at Country Lane LMD. Purchased and planted approximately 20 trees and installed new drip irrigation. And those are all the trees that you see in the picture there. This is all 24-25 fiscal year. Projects and equipment planned for fiscal year 25-26. And these are the list of equipment here. Right-of-way vegetation mower, utility truck for parks and LMDs, a booster pump station, park facility renovation, exercise equipment, park signage, Versalift truck, that's a fancy name for a boom truck. Gopher gas machine, and 1 FTE, full-time employee, in the parks and LMDs. Total projected expenditure of $348,814. This is for 25-26. Let me go back real quick to 24-25. That was $150,000 total out of the LMDs what was expended. We're planning to double that. We're planning to stay aggressive with our projects and procurement of equipment. Okay, some of the projects that we're have planned for the fiscal year 25-26. Vintage West. Staff's planning on installing a new drip irrigation in that area. Sing Park trees, planning to plant some more trees at Sing Park and install some barbecue pits in that area. Devontae Villas, trees at Arkelian Park. F Street fence replacement. Country Lane 2, the Kishi subdivision, planning on planting more shrubs off of Hammett, irrigation replacement, trees. Off on the Olive Avenue, plant more shrubs. There's a lot of shrubs that need to be planted in that area. La Tierra, installing more shrubs and irrigation renovation. Country Roads, shrubs and trees and irrigation renovation. That's off of Walnut. Somerset, planting more trees and shrubs. So that's the end of the presentation. As you can see, we were pretty aggressive. Staff was pretty aggressive during the last fiscal year, and we're planning to stay aggressive in completing projects for our residents this next fiscal year.
Anthony, can you go back to the page where you have like the different amounts in reserves? I think it was first, second, right there, yeah. So for instance, for 24-25, you have in reserve says $1.4 million. Can you expand on what does reserves mean? Because I know I had that question asked before. And so for the general public, what does reserves mean? And for instance, if you don't get to spend or invest all of that money, does that roll over into the next year, into those reserves? Or how does that work? Or you have to like spend it all? And how do you get those reserves? So, and then before I forget, the other question will be in regards to the equipment, like you have a truck and lawnmower and all of that. And obviously, that is not only for one specific LMD, but all throughout the different LMDs. And if you can explain to the public what is the formula, how you use the funding to be able to get one of those trucks or the lawnmowers, and because they are being used throughout different LMDs. And then the other question is, what happens when a particular LMD doesn't have all the necessary funding, and they're very limited because the funds that they provide to that LMD are either $12, $17, very low amounts, to where sometimes there might be a need or a request for, and then what happens when people ask for like, hey, can we get this done here? Can we get that done there? And then where do you get the money to be able to do that project there if their LMD doesn't have enough funding?
Okay, that was a lot of questions, Mayor.
I know. I thought there were only 3, but it seems like 6.
You snowballed there, so I'll take the first one.
All right.
First one, reserves. What are reserves? So we create our budgets within our LMDs and BADs, and we have a maintenance, operations, and personnel budget. So after that's put together, if there's any leftover money after we create our budget, that is put in a reserve account, a fund to account for that. Now, should the districts not use, or staff, I don't know, say we weren't able to complete certain projects or purchase equipment we wanted to purchase, that money doesn't disappear. That just rolls back into the reserve fund, and it will continue to roll over to the next fiscal year until it is utilized and used.
Into the reserve fund for your department?
For that specific district.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
What happens if an LMD does not have money? And basically, there's a couple things that are going to take place. One, we may have to reduce services to that LMD. We may not be able to purchase vegetation for those LMDs or trees, or cut manpower to those areas. The second thing that may happen is council may approve the leveraging of the general fund for the shortfall of the districts if they should run out of money.
And the third question, where in terms of, when you buy a truck, these are several $1,000s, and so it's proportionately charged to the different LNDs based on usage, and that's how these items are purchased.
Right, that's correct. We have an allocation breakdown sheet that has a percentage of the equipment that's purchased. So they all pay their fair share.
Yeah. So I think we covered all the questions.
Anthony, thanks for the presentation. I made that request specifically last time so that when we came back, we would justify the increase in expenditures to the community. I think especially when people see that 1.4 million number, and there's just this perception as a whole is the cities take money from us and they don't do anything with it. And so it's important for us to provide tangible examples of what's going to be done if we decide to levy greater assessments. So thank you for bringing this back and for doing that. I think the community is willing to pay more when they understand what they're paying for. We saw that with Measure L. We had a huge majority of the community come and support a tax increase on themselves because they had a great understanding of how it was going to benefit them. And I think this helps with that. So thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to bring this back. It means a lot.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Anthony, on the slide you had up with the Gopher gas machine, what kind of protective gear do your employees use when they're using that gas machine from Gophers?
Basic
I'm
safety.
assuming it's hazardous to people, so they've got to have masks?
Yeah, basically it's just exhaust. It's exhaust from an engine that's directed inside the run of the squirrel hole, and it's covered up with dirt, so the gas doesn't come back up. But they are wearing PPE for that.
So you cover both Gopher holes?
They find the
Because
Gopher run.
it's always an out for 'em.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted, that would be part of what's in your budget for protective gear?
Yes, we
Okay.
did budget PPE.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anthony, one last request. Can you please share that presentation with the council, the slides themselves?
Yes.
Thank you.
And so if we can look at, so I asked Monica to put up page 275 of the agenda, which is a table that has the proposed assessments rates for each zone. And this gives us, I mean, obviously, if you see the agenda, you saw it there. But, because this question comes up every year from residents. And here you can see, for instance, the amounts that is paid per EDU. Like, for instance, and it tells you like 81, 14, 62. But also if you look at, areas like Country Lane, too, there's amounts of $1,000, 800. And so each each area pays different, and that is why some have more funding and some have less. And so, to Anthony's point in description earlier, even though there's requests or needs to do additional landscaping or projects in that area, if there's no funding, then it's got to, and if we need to do it, it's got to come from somewhere else, and more than likely it's going to come from the general budget, right?
Yes.
General fund. And then that goes to one other question that I've been asked. So if you go to page 2, which is 257 of the staff report, because, and actually that was a question that I had from from before I got to council was, it's like, well, how come certain areas pay more and I pay $900 a year, Well, there's like, well, and then that's where I learned that when this became law, they needed it, those areas needed it to be balloted, and those people living there, they needed to approve or not approve if they wanted it to pay those fees or not. And my understanding is that if the majority people in that district per se did not agree to pay for those fees, they agreed that they were not going to have many amenities, nice replacement of bushes, trees, and additional lighting and all of that. And so if you look at, like I said, 257 paragraph 2 says no cost of living adjustments are allowed in 12 original zones, including Almond Glen, Country Roads, Harvest Manor, Vintage West, Vinewood Estates, North Residential, South Residential, Central Residential, North Commercial, Downtown Commercial, and South Commercial. The proposed and so on, they remain unchanged from the previous year's assessments, and that's why those rates will continue to be the same amount year after year. Their rates will not go up. Where the other areas or zones, our rates or their rates will go up because we want to have additional, because that's what was established when that happened. And then, but it also, on the last sentence of paragraph 2, districts may not be increased over last year's rates until approved through a ballot of the property owners. So now my question is, if people in that area want to change that, can they say, we want to be balloted? If the majority of people in this LMD says yes, because we want more amenities, can that happen?
I think that's a great question for Allison. Allison, did you hear that question from Mayor Moran?
Yes, so these older districts that were formed before the Prop 218 came into law will need to go under the Prop 218 process, initiating balloting, which would come from the city of Livingston initiating this Prop 218. There is possibilities to do a survey to see if the property owners are interested in this in these zones that don't increase annually, but that is up to property owners and just gauging what they would like.
And so who can initiate that? It needs to come directly from someone in that district that it's requesting to be balloted?
Yes, so everyone within the district would receive a ballot, and they would vote whether they would like to increase the levy or not.
And do they need to approach the city? Is that how it gets started?
It's up to the city. There could be surveys given out to see, but the city or property owners can initiate the Prop 218.
Got it. Okay, hopefully they're listening and, see if they have any additional questions. They can call the city manager.
That's right.
Or
Yeah, I'm sure that they're jumping at the bit to increase, the rates.
All right. Okay. Council, is there any additional questions?
If there's no other questions or comments, I'll motion to approve.
Okay. So at this time, if there's no additional questions or comments, I will go out for public comment. Is there 8 o'clock? Is there any public comment? Is there anyone on the phone? Hearing none, bringing it back to the chamber. Is there any comments in the chamber? Seeing none, closing the public comment at 8 o'clock. At this time, I will consider a motion.
I'll motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Paul. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilmember Roth. Roll call, please.
Roll call, Councilmember Roth,
Yes.
Councilmember Upal,
Yes.
Councilmember Wallace,
Yes.
Mayor Moran.
Yes.
Motion passes by a vote of 4-0.
Thank you.